Anxious wives paced Widow's Walk, scanning the horizon, watching the sea. The warmth of the fireside guided their creaking ships past the ever-present lighthouses safely into port. Today as yesterday, these sentinels of safety bring gladness to the hearts of the homing mariners.
Everybody, welcome to Encounter Roleplay, welcome to Friday, and welcome to the haunting of Seawall Orphanage, our exclusive horror TTRPG here on the channel, written and developed by the wonderful Jonathan Fry. I'm going to call it the Terror RPG, Don, because that was our code name for this show, and that's what I'm going to call it for now. And this week we launched the World Anvil, which you did a lot of work on.
Yeah, we did.
About that briefly?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll put up a link in chat here at some point, but we're sponsored this season by World Anvil, Encounter Roleplay is, and so we use the tools they gave us, along with some of the Session Zero world building exercises we did to flesh out the world, its locations. We used it to create a map, a gorgeous map, which I think we got to show a little bit of last week, but on the World Anvil, you can go click on the interactive map, and all of the different locations have articles. The World Anvil has the rules to the game if you're interested in what the rules actually are. It has information, a little bit, not too much spoiler, but a little bit of information about all the different characters, all the kids of the orphanage. And yeah, I'm really happy. It's a really good start to the World Anvil, and we'll keep fleshing it out as time goes on. But if you're interested in the town of Seawall and sort of the process of us creating, an original horror game, you can really get a good glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes through that.
Awesome. I found my mute button. That always helps.
Yeah.
So we'll be hearing more, obviously, about this game as we go into the session. But I want to go and say hello to Ray. How are you doing today, Ray?
Hey, I'm Ray. I'm doing fabulous now that I'm here because I'm so excited. I missed last week and I am so ready to dive into all the craziness and madness that is ensuing. But hi, I'm Ray. You can find me with a brick on the interwebs, and yeah, I also just started a game on Tuesday. So if you like Dungeons and Dragons, I run some D&D over on Scraticus Academy on Tuesday evenings. So follow me on Twitter, and there's more information there. But anyways, I'm here as Staley. I'm so excited.
And you were reliving your 2010 life last night.
Yes, very much so, which is very funny because in the playlist I built for Staley, the band that I went to go see was in that playlist. So I was living my 2010 dream. It was great.
And someone I'm glad to have with us tonight and with us journeying back to 2010 is the wonderful Josh. Josh, you haven't been well this week.
No, I haven't. I haven't been well for quite a while, actually. So it's fine. I'm starting to recover, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But I've had just enough sleep, about 3 hours sleep in the last 48 hours. So just enough to where everything Don says starts to sound almost plausible in my head. So this is gonna be fucking terrifying for me. You can find me here playing Jacob, Jacob Prince. Had no relation to the dog. That's a joke that no one will get yet. Crap. Okay, never mind. There are loads of spoilers and Easter eggs and shenanigans going on in the world. But speaking of things going on in the world, I am going to I'm probably going to be around for about 30 minutes of this game and then be killed violently because something terrible is happening in the church. Me and Staley are going out so good. Like, we're just gonna light up a cigarette and just like watch the world end. That's our plan. That's my plan at least.
It is a plan, but someone who we will protect through the apocalypse would be the wonderful Lydia, who plays Ren.
Hello, I'm so happy that you're going to protect me through the apocalypse. I'm Lydia, and I'm playing Ren, also known as Birdie sometimes. So if you hear that, that's me. I'm so excited to be back. I wasn't here last week. Neither was anyone. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's Lydia Heels. I'm Lydia Heels everywhere on the internet. If you want to find me, I post about my dog or where I'm playing RPGs.
And that is all the content you need because it is a lot of fluffy dog. Let me tell you.
A lot of fluffy dog.
And someone who is beloved to me like a fluffy dog. Don't ask me where this segue's going. I've lost myself a tiny bit. But Tommy, I love you. How are you doing, friend?
Hi. Oh man, thank you. Hey, I'm Tommy, Imperator Pingu on the Twitter sphere. I may be a fluffy dog, but my character most definitely is not. I play Jay Hopkins, who he's according to every adult, is a real good kid, and the other kids, they're not so sure about that. But he is somewhere. He's been shot. It took 2 episodes for him to get shot. So luckily he should hopefully be okay, because I rolled well enough for him to be okay. But yeah, that's where I'm at this week, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
Same
Nothing
though.
goes bad at a hospital.
The revelation that Merrill's got a gun is something that took half the cast in total horror and then escalated from there. Gigi in the middle kind of the escalation, having no clue what to do and spending much of the session just crying, to be honest, and hunting for Miss Toothaker, who was somewhere out in the storm, probably in emotional and mental distress, and then protecting Ren, who is the good and beloved baby of the house. But don't worry, fam. I'm sure we're still going to get our dental hygiene checkup with the definitely not qualified Mr. Toothaker. Right, Don? Does that sound like it's going to happen?
I can make that happen. And you can make that happen too. Well, let's get started then. I know we're missing Travis, but he will be joining us at a good time, and that's okay, because we're going to start elsewhere tonight. Pretty Marsh Harbor is just like any other small town in America. It's got Budweiser in a can and country music at the local pub. It's got backyard barbecues and birthday parties with colorful streamers, funny hats, and not so funny clowns. It's got an annual parade down there on Main Street, and the good townies, the locals, they say it's the best damn parade in the state. It's got sickness, and it's got sadness. The good folks who call it home love God, and probably even more, fear the devil. It's built on top of the blood-stained bones of an entire civilization and culture, an entire world that came before it. Just like any other small town in America. In our last session, it was the night of Gigi's birthday party. As the foster children of Mr. and Miss Toothaker prepared for bed, Merrill convinced young 14-year-old Ren to hide a box of his and keep it a secret. She agreed on the condition that he would take her off island to go see a movie soon. We talked about some of this already, but I think Jacob and Staley became increasingly paranoid when Jacob saw that Merrill had a gun tucked into his pants. Gigi and Miss Toothaker shared a story about a ghost, and after the story, Miss Toothaker seemed to disappear out into the woods. The evening took a bit of a haunted turn when the nearby lighthouse turned on in the middle of the night and its siren began to scream. Merrill chased a tall, floating man through the hallways of the orphanage and cornered the figure. He saw there, beneath his hood, the face of his dead father, and in a moment of anger and anxiety, he shot at the ghost. The ghost vanished, and Jay was the one who took the bullet. So Merrill called 911. Jay agreed not to tell anyone that Merrill shot him. And Merrill ran out of the house to throw his gun into the ocean. And he was confronted by Staley, who threatened him if she found out that he hurt Jay. And on the way back from the ocean, from the shore, Jacob and Staley got lost in the woods. They ended up at an old rickety church nearby the orphanage. There, the lighthouse shone through the stained glass windows of the church, painting the inside of it an eerie red. Jacob, believing that he saw Miss Toothaker, who had gone missing inside the church, looked through that window. There, he saw Old Man McGinty, the fella who lives outside behind the school, the high school, standing on the altar of the church, smeared with blood across his face, eating a human heart. In that moment, the lighthouse siren went quiet, the light went out, leaving Jacob and Staley alone outside of the church in the pitch black of night. Right now, as our story begins, it's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and a chilly 46 degrees. Pretty Marsh Harbor has many secrets, some of them big, some of them small, a few of them terrifying. Ray, Staley, what is one truth about this first scene as we begin tonight?
One first truth is that Staley did not see what Jacob saw and has no idea what's going on.
One truth that I'll add is that right as the lights go out and the lighthouse casts you into darkness again, you hear a crack of thunder, and the storm that had passed by earlier, another storm is coming through, and you can hear the winds beginning to pick up, and how you can feel through the canopy of the trees up above rain beginning to trickle, threatening a larger storm. Jacob, what is one truth about this scene?
Oh god. One truth about this scene is okay, one truth about this scene, there is music playing in church very quietly of your choice. A song is playing. It's the only sound. Other than that, it's like eerily quiet, like very little wind, very little like anything, but there's just, and I'm gonna say probably given what we know about her, it's a record. So it's got that kind of grainy, kind of skipping.
So let's say I love that it's a record. Let's say it's a crooning woman's voice. Sounds like maybe from the 1950s. A torch song, a sad love song. You can't really make out the words in the darkness through the walls and stained glass window. You could just hear the croon and the crackle of the record. And the truth that I'll add to this as we begin our story for tonight is that after a couple tense seconds of darkness and the rain is starting to fall, you can hear the storm coming. A beam of light, white light, goes on inside the church. You can't see. It's not bright enough for you to see through that window, Jacob, but it sort of looks like the beam of like a flashlight.
I put my head up, very, like, just right to the edge, shaking slightly. I still have my my trusty knife, which will save me from all these things. So I'm ready for that. I simultaneously want to make myself as small as possible and try and sort of like just poke my head up, whilst I probably keep trying to say something to Staley, but it's just coming out of just
I'll like mimic his movements, just be like, what's going on? What is wrong? What are you doing?
Cold sweat, sheer, like gone really, really white after what I saw tail end of last episode. And can I look towards this flashlight and see what I can see?
You can see that the flashlight is moving around kind of chaotically, almost as though it's searching for something inside the church. You can't see, I mean, it's through the stained glass window. Without that incredibly bright light of the lighthouse, you can't see into the church from the back. You could go around to the front door. You did see Miss Toothaker, or at least you thought it was Miss Toothaker, run past that door. That's what drew you to spy into the church to begin with. Staley, as you approach in the dark and you find Jacob there, you can just make out each other's bodies through like just a little bit of ambient light, enough to see each other, but not really each other's faces. And you can hear that crooning record sound, some old torch song from within the church as well.
Miss Toothaker. She's and crazy. Fuck. Back.
Wait. McGinty? Are they together in the church? What are they doing?
I don't fucking know.
And is there a way for me to get next to him to look into the window to see anything as well?
Yeah, it's really difficult to see through the stained glass and anything meaningful, but you can try. Roll me a smarts check.
Okay. Smarts. Wow.
All right. That's good. Yeah, so you just needed to roll at least a 4 or higher. So you get to name one truth about what happens or what you see or anything about this scene as Staley looks through the stained glass window.
I imagine Staley would also see that white flashing beam that looks like a flashlight. So she'd probably just see that and kind of like just get enough of it where she's like, oh, there's definitely somebody in there, and like take Jacob's word that it is them. And she'll like prop back down and look over at Jacob and be like, do we leave them? Do you want to go inside? What are we doing? Because we should probably not be here. This does not seem good.
I was just trying to find you. And you watch as Jacob literally takes one of his Jacob collects like lighters, like just, and not like good lighters either, like just the cheap shitty ones that have like fancy stuff on them, and takes it out, and like there's a moment where he genuinely looks and contemplates how difficult it would be to just set fire to the church right now, like just sheer sort of terror. And you see him kind of like looking around, but it's like, we live in the coast and it's always wet and it probably wouldn't. And then he's suddenly like, technically they are people. And just, we've run. Staley, run.
Okay.
Just run,
and
just fucking run.
Okay, and I'll just take off in the opposite direction in which we came, that like I remember at least approaching from. to get back at least to
So-
the water, if nothing else, to take the water back.
So you turn and take his advice and start to run. The rain is coming down harder now, and right at that moment, just as you turn, Staley, we have a bane. And I want to say that bane is that record player that was playing a song, you hear the song stop with a scratch. And then for a moment, you hear what sounds like a muffled cry from inside the church, maybe a woman's voice, and then heavy boots stomping towards the front door. And you can see that flashlight, that light from inside move. And you can hear, even as you start to run, that front door swings open. You can hear the creaking wood of it from the other side of this tiny church.
I'm going to turn around, run back, and grab Jacob and by his shirt and just drag him with me. I'm not even going to look at what's coming through the door. I'm just going to go back and grab him and make him run with me. I'm not leaving by myself.
Jacob looks. It's that kind of thing. Like, it's like looking at pictures of accidents and stuff. It's that morbid sort of can't turn his head away from it, but wants to look anywhere else. But all he can do is stare at whatever this is.
So does Jacob allow Staley to pull him to get him moving away from the church?
100%.
All right. Staley, go ahead and roll me a quickness.
Okay.
This is a desperate situation, which means you need to roll a 5 or higher.
Oh no. Oh no.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Staley? What's this?
So you begin to pull Jacob, trying to get him away from the church back in the direction you think is maybe the water or the orphanage. It's hard to tell because you're in the middle of the woods, and you can feel your heart beginning to pound a little bit heavier in your chest. And because it's so dark and the ground is already getting muddy, you feel your heel slide against the mud, and then you hit a low-hanging branch that's just fallen from one of the trees. You feel yourself lose Jacob. Your hands together for a moment slide away, and as you trip, Staley, you roll down a small hill off to the side, and you can feel your left ankle twist sharply as your body comes to a stop at the bottom of this little hill.
I just let out a really big whimper, and I immediately start crying and just yelling for Jacob. Jacob, I think, oh God, where'd you go?
So Staley, you'll lose 1 quickness for the rest of this session. Jacob, you feel her, you hear her cry. You were looking back, and you can see, a moment before she trips, you see that flashlight come out of the front of the church and begin to swing around like it's searching for something. What does Jacob do?
Instinctively pull up my hood. Can I make out in and I'm gonna turn tail and just run, just haul ass. Can I tell who it is? Can I make out an outline at all? I imagine I've got a flashlight against me, so I'm kind of I wouldn't be able to see much, but
Absolutely. You hang out at even after Staley has tripped and fallen down the hill, and you stare at this light, and you can make out the outline of what looks like a broad-shouldered body. You can't really see the face, but then you hear the voice as the flashlight shines in your direction and catches you through the tree line, following Staley's cries, which are audible in the night. And the voice coming from that outline, that silhouette, says, "Candalak, K de moon, K de moon." Do you run towards Staley down the hill? Do you run away from this figure?
I do two things. One, I would like to take my Zippo shitty lighter and I want to hurl it at this thing as hard as I can and just shout, "Fuck off!" And then I want to run after Staley.
All right. Roll me a cool check.
I can do that. Possibly. I may be able to do that. I may have spoken too soon. Oh god. Noises.
All right, as you throw the lighter and you descend down this hill towards where Staley has fallen, what's one truth?
As I throw the lighter, something, just against the odds, something catches fire. Like, it's raining, so it's probably not like a big deal, but like something catches fire. And then I run and get to Staley.
And Jacob, a moment before you descend, after you throw the lighter bounces off of this silhouette in the dark and it lands in the mud. But we'll say it's the raincoat of the figure itself that catches fire almost inexplicably. And as it does, you see the blood-smeared face of Mr. McGinty. He begins to walk towards you as you run down this hill. You can't see him anymore, but you can see the glow of his flaming raincoat from up above, and his voice follows you down even as you get down to Haley's side. Jacob. Jacob. You reach Staley's side.
It really hurts. I think I screwed it up.
Which is
Go,
closer?
it's fine.
Which is closer, Don? The orphanage or the lighthouse?
The orphanage is closer to the church.
Okay. Then I wanna basically try and like help, almost like pick Staley up and like carry as much of her weight as possible and just say, "Staley, we've got to get the fuck out of here. We've got to go now."
No, wrap my arms up and get pulled up and do like one of those like hop things, and then like kind of like lift dog my ankle as we like try and run.
Can I try and like actually carry her?
Like piggybacking?
However.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna, if you want to piggyback through the mud, roll me grit.
Okay.
Right as you get her up onto your back and you're getting ready to move in the direction you think is the orphanage in the dark, that fiery figure appears at the top of the hill looking down. You can see the flashlight in their left hand now turned off, and in their right hand you can see a fire axe. But you rolled a 6, so you're able to provide one truth here as you begin to make your escape.
Okay, in a surprising amount of strength, just sheer adrenaline, I fireman carry. I just pick up Staley and throw her essentially over my shoulder and just start running. My truth is, Staley sees something that I don't. Because she's facing backwards and has to deal with something. Because you know what? I've seen a lot of terrible stuff. Staley sees something. That's my truth.
Perfect. So you begin taking off through the mud. You're able to keep your footing. You almost slip a couple of times, and you think you're moving in the right direction. You think you're getting close to the little road that will take you back up to the orphanage itself. You can actually hear in the distance what sounds like maybe police sirens or fire sirens, maybe an ambulance of some kind. And you begin moving on in that direction at the same time. Staley, what you see as you're looking back over Jacob's shoulder is that the figure of old man McGinty, his clothes burning away except for his raincoat, his flannel shirt nearly gone now. You can see his grinning, grimacing face as he begins to run. He is running down the hill through the mud. He drops his flashlight. He remains on fire, and he begins swinging. Even though he's a ways away from you, he begins swinging that fire axe through the air as he's chasing you in mud.
I just like hit Jacob on his back and just being like, he's coming, you have to go faster. Oh my god.
I don't say anything. I just concentrate on breathing and running and like more focused on going fast and going away than going to a destination. We live on a small island. Like, eventually we'll find the sea. I'll just run in a direction until we find the ocean, and then maybe throw myself into it.
So let's do this. Jacob, you manage, because you have a head start and you are moving as quickly as you can, driven by adrenaline. You manage to see the road up ahead through the tree line, and you realize you've gone in the right direction. You can take this road. You can follow it right to the orphanage. And you can hear now the sirens past you towards the orphanage, possibly there for Jay, who was shot earlier this night. What do you do when you get to the road?
Is the road lit?
There are like lamp lights down, street lights down towards the actual town, but the closest light towards the orphanage is the actual gate lights of the orphanage itself. You can just make them out in the distance.
Okay. I would take a moment to catch my breath, and then I'm pretty focused on just running in that direction. Like there's nothing else really going through Jacob's brain at the moment. He's had a few days. In fact, I think it's all the same day.
It's just been 1 day.
It's just been 1 day. It's all the same day. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep running. But if it's okay, I would like to throw the spotlight. If that's okay, because I want this to stop now. So I throw contemptful spotlight at Jay.
Okay, perfect. So we'll come back to resolve this scene in a minute, but Jay, inside, the rest of the kids have boarded themselves up and kind of held themselves up in one of the offices of the house. You know that Merrill's called the police. Merrill's returned, but Staley and Jacob have not returned. And I want to know, as Jay has been shot and as Jay is waiting for somebody to come help him, either a memory that comes to mind for Jay or what he's thinking or feeling in this moment, as much description as you like.
Oh, okay. I think Jay thinks about, and he's, at this point, I mean, he's probably still lost a good amount of blood at this point, regardless of our attempts to slow down the blood flow and all that. It's been a few minutes, and so, he's a little lightheaded, and I think he thinks about a time that he captured, because he has his insect collection, and I think he thinks about a time that he captured a new butterfly, one he hadn't added to his collection yet. Captured it, put it in a jar, and waited for it to live out its lifespan in that jar, which wouldn't be very long because he wasn't poking holes in the jar. And just sort of thought about as thinking about sort of like that moment where you watch where it's still struggling to live, but you can tell it's dying and its wings are slowly flapping and growing slower and slower until it's still. He thinks about that right now. He's growing a little lightheaded. He's definitely lost a lot of blood. He's a little worried. While he has studied biology and anatomy, he's not a doctor. He's not studying to be a doctor, so he doesn't know really how bad. He knows it's probably not the worst thing that could have happened to him. Like he knows for sure that if it had bone, it would hurt way more. But like you're 17, you've been shot, you're bleeding, you think you're dying. Like that's all you can do right now.
So, Jay, as you're thinking this in the room with the others, you see that moth. At least it looks like the same moth that you had up in your room that died and then wasn't dead. One identical to it, just on the desk there in the office as you're starting to get woozy and lose consciousness and you're thinking back to this memory. You see that moth on the desk right next to you, its wings flapping hard, fast, the exact opposite of your memory, that butterfly. And then you hear the approach of sirens as somebody arrives outside of the house. We'll come back to this in a minute. In the meantime, Jacob and Staley, you've not made it home yet. You've provided a momentary distraction. Staley, you saw that figure chasing you, but Jacob managed to move faster. It slipped a couple of times awkwardly with jerking motions and fell a little bit further behind. But as Jacob stops at the side of the road to catch his breath, I need you to roll me a cool check.
Okay. And when it's a highlighted trait, what does that mean again?
So that means that if you have been given the spotlight, then
so
you
the
can use
spotlight.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's hope this works then.
So that is not enough. And what I'll say is you don't see the fire, but you hear the voice in the darkness because you're still staring back over Jacob's shoulders as Jacob's sort of catching his breath just on the side of the road. And through the tree line, you hear the voice, talk, talk, talk. And then exploding from the tree line, no longer wearing his raincoat or wearing any clothes, all having burned away, is McGinty. His face still smeared with blood, charred from fire, with the axe in his hands raised up over his head. What do you do?
I'm going to smack Jacob's back and be like, we need to get going. And I'm going to start screaming. I am trying to get anybody and everybody's attention in the entire vicinity. I do not care who hears. I am screaming my head off.
Jacob?
Oh.
Okay. Can I volunteer to make a roll to see how knackered I am from running?
Absolutely, yeah. Do you want to roll grit for me?
Yeah.
This is gonna be desperate.
Okay, that seems fair. Yeah, I don't honestly think I can keep running with Staley.
You do have a re-roll. You can use it now or you can save it till later.
I am going to how he's an old man. Right.
Is he?
Yeah.
Don, I'm telling you, he's an old man. He is.
Okay.
It's a fact. It's established. You let us do world building. He is, and I say
Yes,
that with
yes.
conviction.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh god, if I had my bag with me. This is literally the reason I carried a bag everywhere at 16, because I was convinced something like this would actually happen, and I fucking left it at the orphanage like an idiot. Okay. I say, Staley, I can't carry you.
Drop me, and just hold on to my arm, and I'll just limp. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We gotta go. We gotta go.
I put her down, and like just sheer panic mode, just say, run, get help. And I want to rush
I'll
him.
attempt to like limp run.
You want to rush? Okay.
I'm gonna rush him.
Is this grit check? You rushing him then? Is that what you want to do?
No, I'm gonna make another whatever check I need to make to try and I want to take him out, like take him down to the ground, because like old people break stuff when they fall over.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is.
Since you failed your previous check, I get to name one truth, and because it was desperate, you will lose one grit for the rest of the session.
Great, I love it.
You still have your reroll because you gave a spotlight to another player. And I want to say that the truth is that right as you put Staley down and she begins to run in the opposite direction and you prepare to rush him, you see the spinning red lights coming down the road in the opposite direction, coming towards the orphanage of what looks like maybe an ambulance or a fire truck. And you can hear another siren coming straight down the road. You can roll me grit. You can roll me grit if your intention is to like tackle him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna reroll.
All right. That is enough. You get to name one truth about what happens here, Josh.
Okay. My truth will be that Staley can get someone's attention. Someone from the fire department or whatever it is, Staley can get someone's attention, and I will just deal with whatever.
I'll pass this over to Staley then. Staley, whose attention do you get and how?
I probably would have attempted to run to where I saw the sirens, and coincidentally, as those lights were approaching that Jacob saw, I like basically hailed the cop car and got him to stop, and desperately was like, "You need to come help us," and actually like pulled him out of like, he got out of the vehicle, and then I like pulled him basically and was like, you need to come with us right now. And I'm trying to lead the cop down the hill.
Yeah, and it's an older, not old, but like, middle-aged, overweight, like volunteer fireman who's coming down. Like the fire truck slides because it's muddy on the road. It almost like doesn't stop, and then he looks out, and you're able to get his attention and convince him that there's something going on down the road. And he asks if you want to hop in the truck, and he can drive you back.
No, you have to come with me. There's somebody else down the hill who is in danger. There is somebody who is chasing after us with an axe. You need to do your job and come help us. And I'm just like pulling him along.
Okay. Absolutely, yeah. So he leaves his truck on the side of the road, turns the siren off, but the light is still spinning. And he begins to stumble back towards to the other side of the road where Jacob, and you see Jacob in this figure. Jacob, you slam into old man McGinty, and when you hit his body, it feels like your slamming into a gigantic pillow that's wet, just soaked. You don't feel bone, you just feel like you're pushing through and you hear this squishing sound. He goes down to the ground and you are on top of him for the moment, but he doesn't stop moving. As his head slams back into the road, you can see some liquid coming out of the side of it, but he reaches up for you with one of his burnt hands towards your neck, and you hear, Jacob. What do you do?
I knee him in the gentleman's oysters and try and run away.
Absolutely. Roll me, we'll do one more of these. Let's make it a quickness. Desperate roll.
And I try and shout Staley, but it probably sounds more like some kind of horrific screeching sound.
What is one truth as you do this?
Oh god. I set someone on fire. She got help. I feel like I've been really nice to myself. So I do, but I managed to in sort of the frantic getting away, he gets something of mine. I don't know what.
You had a knife on you, right?
Yep, I did. I straight up did.
I think you're running Jacob back towards the orphanage away from him, and you're checking for your knife just in case you need it to defend yourself, and it's not there. Do you look back over your shoulder?
No, I do not.
Staley, you bring... I think our light's going down. As the clock ticks forward, we all have -1 to our dice pulls for the remainder of the session. Staley, you lead the volunteer fire department and firemen to the spot, and you don't see Mr. McGinty anymore. You see Jacob sprinting down the street towards the orphanage gate light.
So is Jacob running away from me at this point or to me?
Away from you.
Away from me? I'll scream after him and let go of the volunteer's hand and just sprint after him.
You can see as you let go, the volunteer is catching his breath in the middle of the street, and he wipes his forehead, and then he starts to run slowly, but you're running much faster. Jacob, you hear Staley crying out for you behind you.
I start rushing towards her, tears fucking streaming down my face at this point. Soaked, probably starting to shiver because it's cold and windy and it's an island and hissing it down with rain and it's dark and late and just also shock starting to really kick in. And just, I don't have any words. I just run and I'm a mess.
The two of you are able to reach each other. What happens in that moment?
Staley would throw her arms around Jacob and just hug him very closely and keep hysterically crying, and probably take a second and breathe very heavily, and then look at him and then turn around to see if the volunteer was walking away or walking towards us.
Roll me an empathy and subtract 1 for the time. You get to name one truth as you look back for the volunteer.
the volunteer is still like, he's not hastily walking towards us, but he is, trotting down in our direction.
Yeah, he's getting close. He's just exhausted. He's looks confused, and he makes it to you as the two of you are embracing, looking around, not understanding what's going on, and he just sort of says, all right, why don't the two of you tell me what the hell all this is about?
Man, fire, knife, axe, kill, heart, church.
All right there, boy. Let's go. You live down here in the orphanage, right?
We both do.
Is there someone who's hurt down there? Is that what this is about?
Where? At the house or here? Because there's two different things going on.
All right there. Now, miss, lad, why don't you come with me? I'll take you in my truck. We'll go back to your orphanage. I need to check on a call there, and I need to find out what exactly is going on. You're safe. Everything's all right. Okay? Come on. You can feel him put a large hand on your shoulder, Jacob.
I look at him and just like for a moment, I just look at him. I think Mum's dead. It's like the first time I've remembered, usually out of spite, I don't call her. But like in that moment, like it's the first thing that comes to mind is how she always goes on about it. And I think Mum's dead.
And that is where we will cut away from this scene. This is where we will end this act of our little game. All right. So it's a rainy night. We have Travis here with us. What I want to do as we bring everybody back together is one of our montages to have us progress through time. We all get a chance to introduce a truth, and then we're going to move forward and get to explore more stories. So let's begin here. This is the situation. The volunteer fire department arrives because of the 911 call, and they arrive to take care of Jay. Jay, why don't you start us off here. What is one truth about how the rest of this night goes?
Oh man, I mean, no one gets any sleep that night. Obviously the volunteer fire department shows up. Jay has been shot, clearly, which means the police are then dragged into this. And obviously there is children who are absolutely out of their minds, specifically Staley and wow, why am I blanking on the name right now?
Jacob.
Jacob, yeah. So obviously the police have to get involved.
Yeah, it's a long, exhausting night, and even after it's done, sleeping is difficult for everyone. The truth I'll add to this is Jay is taken by the volunteer fire department, obviously, to be treated at the Dupree Hospital and Recovery Center, which is in town. It's not far away. Would anybody go with Jay, or would everyone stay behind to talk to the police about what all is going on? Who would go with Jay if anybody would?
Well, if I can dodge the police, I'll do it. Go ahead.
All right, great. So Travis, would anybody else go with Jay?
I think if no one else was going to, Gigi would definitely offer. She would have been hovering by the window looking for Miss Toothaker and kind of very panicked. But I think if Merrill volunteers, she kind of be wary about it, but she would let Merrill go so that she could stay and look after Ren.
Yeah, and I think Ren is being the youngest is a mess right now, probably as well. So yeah, Merrill. Then, what is one truth about how the rest of this night goes?
I think Jay and Merrill are both able to keep their stories straight. That the home intruder fired the gun, and that then he somehow, in the scuffle, dropped his parka and made it back out the front door. And I didn't get a good look at him, and maybe neither. I guess maybe Jay got a better look at him or describes him differently. But I just say that I didn't get a good look at him, besides the yellow raincoat and the pistol, and that he was big and big shoulders, big guy. And, there's heat on Merrill because his parents were murdered on their yacht 6 months ago, and he probably has a longer conversation with the police than anybody else. But because he had an alibi and how it all shook out, he's pretty much beyond suspicion at this point. It's just very important that no one knows that Merrill had a gun, which is why he threw it in the water. And so that's the truth, is that in their interaction with the police, they keep their story straight and keep their cool.
Absolutely. And I'm guessing then Jay too, like Jay promised to keep it quiet. That's a promise that he keeps.
Yeah, Jay keeps that promise because Merrill now owes him.
I love it. All right, so let's go to Gigi then. Gigi, you've chosen to stay behind and look after the others. Those who remain after the police take Jay off to the hospital, after the questioning, and they go over, where's Miss Toothaker? Where's Mr. Toothaker? What do you remember? What's one truth about this night?
I think that Gigi and Ren would stumble through their kind of answers about what happened, that they heard something, that Miss Toothaker's missing, and Gigi gets really stuck on that point. She's very concerned. And I think the police kind of find them very unhelpful witnesses to what happened. And I think one truth about what happens after that is Ren and Gigi go back to their room, and the two girls end up sharing the same bed, just kind of curled up and trying to go to sleep. And eventually I think Ren will drift off listening to one of their favorite songs, kind of have like a little MP3 player or something going on, kind of drown out the sound of the storm. But I think as Gigi falls asleep and she has her recurring dream about the bridge, on the bridge she sees a smiling man, and it's one of those weird moments where it just zooms in on that face, and he's just got this really extended, broad, smiling face. And it's almost a recollection of the story Miss Toothaker read. And she wakes with a start, and for a moment she's convinced there's something on the ceiling above them. And she's too scared to, properly open her eyes and look. And so she just doesn't sleep from that point onwards.
I want to add a truth to this.
Okay.
You see that figure on the ceiling when you wake up, at the start, after that dream, and you remember the story of Miss Toothaker, that ghost that she said she'd been seeing, this old, wrinkled, smiling face with liver-spotted hands, and that's what you see for a moment there in the dark. You see the spots on those hands as they reach for yours, and then you hear a voice. Gigi, are you all right? What happened? What's going on? And through the darkness, that phantom kind of becomes clearer, and you realize that it's Mr. Toothaker, not kneeling, but bending down over the side of your bed with a worried look on his face.
And I think just instinctively she kind of cuddles Ren closer to her, like a favorite bear, almost forgetting Ren's a human being. Just like this protective thing. And she kind of catches her breath as like the paralysis from sleep kind of fades away, and we're just having a bad night.
Oh, I saw police there in the middle of the town. They questioned me about what happened here, and I didn't know a damn thing, Gigi.
You don't know what
What?
happened, Mr. Toothaker?
I just got back. What happened?
Jay got shot by... There was a guy, and he broke in, and he broke the door, and he shot Jay, and Jay's at the hospital with Merrill, and Miss Toothaker's missing, and I think she's gone crazy.
Where's Miss Toothaker? You said she's gone missing.
I don't know. She went. I think when the guy came in, she went out the door, and she was kind of confused all evening, and she hasn't come back, and I don't know where she is.
All right. It's okay, there, Gigi. I'll go looking for her. She couldn't have got too far. She just gets confused sometimes. That's all. She forgets who she is and where she is. You're all right, though. He looks back towards the door, which is open to the light outside. Back to you. Do you want me to... Are you all right here by yourself if I go out looking for Miss Toothaker?
I think we'll be okay. I think is the door still broken? And she realizes she can't even remember if someone fixed the door or not.
They did not. Yeah, it's still broken. I'll have to fix it tomorrow. But first I gotta find Miss Toothaker. It's still coming down hard out there, and I better go.
Mr. Toothaker, can I call Dad?
Maybe wait until the morning, Gigi. It's pretty late now, and you should get some rest.
Okay.
He looks concerned for you, but also concerned for Miss Toothaker, and after resisting for a moment, he kind of pulls up your hand, like give you a kiss on the hand, just like a real quick one. And you can feel him squeezing your hand. You can see those liver spots on his hand. And then he lets go, and he moves for the door and pulls it shut behind him, leaving you back in the dark.
And for a moment, she kind of cuddles into Birdie, and then she kind of looks at that door and remembers the spots, and I think she's going to try and get out of bed without disturbing Birdie and try and find something to block the door. Like we'd barricaded the office, she's going to try and barricade the bedroom. And she's going to go for like just boxes from under their bed. She'll try moving the bed, but then think, oh, that's going to make too much noise and it's too big for me to really move. So she's just, anything she can is going to booby trap and block this door.
Absolutely. And nobody stops you. You know, nobody at any point in the rest of the night tries to get in through the door. Let's go over now to Staley. Staley, you and Jacob are taken back to the orphanage. Do you tell this officer the full story of what you saw?
Oh yeah. I mean, I tell him at least the things that I saw. So just mostly it was Mr. McGinty chasing after us with an axe. And then like making it a big deal that he was on fire, not knowing what was going on or why he was even in the church. But yeah, very much like distraught afterwards. And I think she does almost the same thing that Gigi does, where she has that extra bed in her room, and she'll pull it closer to hers, but like also close to the door so that like if anybody was trying to get into the door, they'd have to hit the bed, and she sleeps like on the door. I think she sits up in bed for a while. Actually, I don't think she like falls asleep very quickly or easily. She sits up and just kind of stares at the ceiling, playing everything over and over again, and like just sitting there wondering like why, how, what do I do from here? Where do we go?
Jacob, what's your interaction with this volunteer fireman, and what else does Jacob do that night?
I tell him what I saw, incoherently, just in a babble, and I demand, like, with like all the authority of a 16-year-old orphan who's clearly going in shock, and has witnessed things and has no real voice, that they go and arrest him or find him or do something. And I tell him like where Mr. McGinty lives. He like lives behind our school, and I don't tell them that I set him on fire. I leave that bit out. But I say, I tell them that Mrs. Twofaker is at the church, or Miss Twofaker is at the church, that he attacked us with an axe, and that there was blood, and I think he killed someone in the church. And then, I don't know, Don, considering I shout all of this, what happens to me?
So the fireman, it doesn't believe either one of you, but is very, very kind. And he doesn't do that thing where he tries to explain to the two of you that obviously like you either had a weird dream or you're playing a prank. Like, he believes that you believe what you saw, but he basically just stays very quiet and wants you finish your stories, and he gets you I think he probably gets some tea or makes some tea, helps himself to your kitchen. He sticks around later than the police officers, specifically with the two of you. And he tells the police officers, as they come up and they talk, and says, I'll deal with these two, and I'll write a full report. That the volunteer fire department and the police officers are basically all one and the same. They're all volunteers here on this island. And once time goes on and the two of you start to calm down before bed, before Mr. Toothaker returns, he simply says, "You're going to be safe tonight. We've got men. They'll stay outside. We found, I guess, Mr. Toothaker, and he's on his way home right now. I just need you to calm down and try to get some sleep. Tomorrow, first thing, I promise you, I'm going to go down there to Mr. McGinty's house. We're going to square all this away, and we'll get to the bottom of everything. I promise you, nobody's going to hurt either one of you tonight. I'll stay here as long as I need to, but you should try to get some sleep."
Yeah, I'm gonna go sleep, and I will walk up to the office where I left my bag, take it, go upstairs, go to the top floor, pull down the little crawl attic thing, crawl up into the attic, and barricade myself in the attic, and I will like move all the furniture like around that entrance bit, and then I will sit with my bag like close to the window, and I will smoke as many cigarettes as I have, drink all the shitty alcohol I can drink, and instead of like, his plan is definitely to like drink until he passes out, because that's the only way he figures he's going to get any sleep. But I think what actually happens is I just get like violently sick and don't sleep and just lie up there, just like almost like paralytically drunk for a good couple of hours, miserable.
Jacob, I need you to make me a desperate grit check. This is to see what the result of your drinking and exhaustion and staying awake is.
Okay. Good.
Did you subtract what? Did you roll?
No. So I've no. I went to, and then I realized that I've only got one dice left.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So your grit is now reduced to a rank of 1, right, for the rest of the session. You don't want it to be reduced again this session. But we'll say this is the truth, Jacob. You get so sick that the next day, and maybe the next several days, you remain sick. It's that kind of hangover, and maybe it's something a little bit more than a hangover too. And your memories of the night, you don't remember chronology, you don't remember specificity, you remember flashes. And I want to say those flashes are you and Staley in the road, crying and embracing each other with the rain coming down. You remember that moment. You remember the red light through the stained glass window and Mr. McGinty with the heart in his hands. And you remember his voice, just your name, calling after you, Jacob, Jacob. You remember those moments, but the rest of the night and what actually happened is gone because of your drinking. Let's go to the hospital, and let's do one more, just with the two of you. I want one more truth about the hospital. So let me give us a little bit of information here. This is our first time going to one of our major locations besides the church and the lighthouse. Pretty Marsh Harbor. So the Dupree Hospital and Recovery Facilities is an old hospital with multiple wings. The old wings are abandoned and locked down, sometimes used when they need to create emergency wings, particularly for flu infections. The new wing of the hospital is rumored to be haunted. There's a series of cells and rooms there that are part of a mental psych ward. Sometimes those are used for flu quarantine as well. Since Pre-Marsh's founding, every 13 to 15 years, there's always some sort of, it just seems like super flu that wipes through the town, gets people very sick. The hospital fills up. So they have these extra wings, these older wings that they keep. But they don't really keep them updated. They use them only when they absolutely need the space. When there's a serious injury that occurs that cannot be treated at this hospital, patients usually have to be airlifted by helicopter to off-island, the mainland, the town of Bangor, right on the mainland there. But Jay, your wound, I think we discussed, it's a gun wound with maybe a minor fracture, but it's minor. This is a sort of wound where as they do surgery and they remove the bullet, they're able to do so relatively easily. And I think Jay is gone for the night, like he's out, right? With anesthetic, he's not coming back until the next day. So we'll touch base with Jay here maybe the next day, but I want one truth from you, Jay, about something to do with the hospital or Jay when he arrives to the hospital.
Well, and I think I'll leave the exact reason for it up to you, but it's not a big hospital, right? Like, especially when they're not using most of the parts of it. So I think that, I don't know if it's because of the sudden storm or something, or because there have been because this island has an unusual number of car accidents for some reason. Uh, but basically, the rooms that are kept prepped, all year round, are full, and so Jay has to be put into a room that is not completely prepped, possibly in a part of the hospital that is like the lights need to be repaired, right? So there's just like a couple of lights that work and some don't. But basically, he's put into a part of the hospital that's not prepped right now.
Absolutely. So let's add this then. There have been, specifically today, an increasing number of people coming down with just a nasty summer bug, maybe the flu. It's filled up the rooms. And Jay, after his surgery, he's put into a treatment room, not in the ER, but they take him to the back of the hospital. It's right on the border of the old hospital. It's like the last room before you would pass through. And one of the lights out in the hallway here at the very end of this section is out. It's dark, but the rest of the lights are on. However, the lights in the old hospital, if you were to look through the little window there leading to it, are entirely off. It's like a tunnel, a black tunnel, right outside.
I imagine it's probably got those like double doors that flip open that have like the glass like window panel that you can see through between. Yeah,
absolutely. Travis, okay, so you go with Merrill goes with Jay to the hospital. What's one truth that you want to add about the hospital or about Merrill?
Well, I know what Merrill spends the next couple of hours doing. First, he makes sure that Jay goes inside. Then he visits billing. Merrill doesn't have access to the gross family fortune yet. It's still wrapped up in probate, but there was no will, and it looks like he's going to get it. But he's got a lot of cash on him, right? Mm-hmm. So he goes down and makes the power move. And Merrill's also the kind of 17-year-old who wears Ray-Bans at night. And he's got his coat on, the collar popped up, and he goes down to billing and just like arranges to pay for Jay's surgery in cash. Then he paces around the parking lot calling his lawyer and calling this one in, which is important because this is a big deal that the story that someone else shot Jay is very important to maintain, okay? So gets on the phone, talks to him for a few minutes. He is curt with his lawyer. They are not friendly, but speak often. Then go inside and start to visit Jay, but if Merrill is anything like me, and he is, he likes to explore weird buildings and go places he's probably not supposed to go. And I think he takes a pocket square, which I had, except I can't see anything now, and holds it over his face and just kind of looks in the window at Jay. Yeah, maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's, just sitting there, whatever. And he's fine.
Is it the same night?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, this is like 2 hours after he gets, like an hour or two after he gets out of surgery.
Okay, so I imagine
late at night.
This is kind of up to you, Tommy. He's probably. Do you think Jay would still be down from anesthesia 2 hours? At this point, it's probably like 4 a.m., right?
Yeah, Jay's probably out. He lost a lot of blood, like had surgery, like he's out for the count, I think.
And Travis, the truth I want to add to this is that they wouldn't normally let you back there, right? They wouldn't normally let an underager pay, but because this is Dupree Hospital, and Dupree is one of the founding families, and besides the Toothacres, who aren't very influential, And the Grosses, they're the only founding family left. So you're one of the last of sort of a line of people who founded the town, who founded this island, and that affords you a little bit of leeway. I will say that the actual workers for the hospital, they do resent it, right? They resent giving in and letting you get away with all of this, but nobody stops you. And so there you are. It's 4 a.m. Jay is probably the only member of the family, the foster family, that's actually asleep. And you're looking in through his window.
All right. He's in there. Merrill thinks about the fact, Merrill's been thinking about trust a lot, but gets distracted by the doors off to the side, off to the old broken down wing of the hospital. And, can't help himself. Got to go in there and just kind of stroll around, puts one hand in his pocket, the other hand front of his face with his pocket square, It was his dad's. He's in his dad's, like, big black coat, like one of those big, long Brooks Brothers, crossing traffic in New York coats. And he's got his dad's pocket square over his face and just decides to start kind of walking around, go explore the old... Nothing wrong with exploring an old falling down hospital during the hour of the wolf in sunglasses. So that's what Merrill's up to for the next few minutes.
Does he bring any sort of light? Does he have a light source? Because it is dark back there.
Did the flip phones, were we on smartphones by 2010? We were. Is there a flashlight on the phone there?
Yeah, I'd say so. That was one of the first things they got.
Yeah, he's using the light on his phone, which he's been talking on all night and maybe playing Snake on, as that's what I remember anyway. And so, yeah, his phone's down to about half, I guess, or that's up to you. But he is using his phone as a flashlight if there's no light in the creepy part of the hospital.
I would say probably at that point, yeah, there's no light in the wing. At least you have it, not any light on currently. Maybe you could flip some light on. And I'll say instead of half, let's say 21%. They just didn't hold their battery quite so well in 2010.
Yeah, they didn't.
So as you push through this old door, which is inexplicably unlocked and swings open, you step into an older section of the hospital and you're kind of moving your phone around. You can see that the pastel walls are a different color. They're strange, right? They look like maybe something out of like the early 80s or late 70s. And the wallpaper along the walls are kind of peeling away. There's some crumbling plaster behind them, some plaster gathered on the floor. And then you see like a long stretch of hallway here with doors on either side, all of them wooden doors with a simple window. And then another set of double doors beyond.
I just want to go peek in the rooms through the windows and the doors. Just kind of walk along goose-stepping heel-toe to not make too much noise, but also quietly humming to himself as he checks out what's going on in these rooms.
Go ahead and roll me cool. Or no. Let's call it empathy.
We're going to wrestle both some dice. I got to move the thing here. All right, so got the thing, empathy, which is here, which I have some of, but this is not.
What's your normal empathy?
In 2010, it is 3.
So you'll subtract 1 for the time gone by. So you'll roll 2d6. Right. You just need to roll a 4 or higher, which you do. You get to name one truth. So you're like going through, or are you actually opening doors? Are you just kind of like shining your phone through the windows?
I'm shining my phone through the windows. I'm not going in the doors unless I see something interesting in there.
Okay, so you get to choose what you see. You get to name a truth here.
Well, I think he finds all kinds of cool old stuff, like an old wheelchair and old, it's half cleaned out, so there's all kinds of cool stuff to pick around, and maybe he finds some more gauze or something because he's been using a lot of that lately. Maybe he finds a weird old eye patch, and kind of checks that out and puts it in his pocket, and just kind of goes through items and finds, I think some gauze that he keeps and some maybe a weird old eye patch, but no monsters that I'm aware of. Just lots of crap.
Yeah, and I want to say it's like a brown leather eye patch. It's not the normal kind. It's kind of like it's got like 2 straps instead of 1 straps, and they crisscross. It looks pretty sweet. Nice. You're checking through the rooms, and it's quiet this late at night. You can see the set of double doors in the back. They appear locked, unlike these doors. And as you kind of like shine your light through the windows of that second hallway, it looks like maybe there's some padding on the walls in there. It looks like maybe it's an old part of the old psych ward that used to be here.
Well, you can't help yourself. I mean, you got to go at least stick your head in the door of the old psych ward.
How do you get in through the door?
He's got like he's got a Swiss Army knife that he stole from his dad's desk drawer, and he could maybe try and pop any kind of lock that's on there. Otherwise, man, if it's all fallen over and crumbling, maybe I can like break the glass on an axe on the wall. It sounds maybe too exciting, maybe a little too diehard for Merrill at 4 a.m. But if you could find like a bar, like a chunk of metal or something to pry the doors open, or if it's full unlocked, he tries to pick it. I think let's start there.
Okay. Roll me. I want to say cool. This is a cool check.
Merrill has 1 cool in 2010, so we'll just see how that goes. 3. No. Is that a 3? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's a 3. So it's not that you fail in doing it. You're able to get the door open. I just get to name a truth. And that truth is like it's probably been an hour since you started checking out this little wing. Time's gone by so quickly, and it's taking you a while to get this door open as you're jiggering with a lock. And that like it's almost morning, which means fresh people actually on post and moving around doing their job in the hospital. This is the best last time you have to really check this place out. And once you finally get that door open, once you unlock the lock and go to pull the door open, you reach for the handle, and just as you touch it, it opens of its own accord, and there's just this of wind that comes from the ward within, as though it were just this huge draft pushing the door open. And with your flashlight and your phone kind of shaking in your hand just for a moment, I think it's pointed down at the ground, and you see this looks like a red mist, like a little red fog that's just drifting, rolling along ankle height along the ground, and as it passes you, it dissipates.
Shake my pant leg, like see if there's anything on it, like step back and look really closely, see if it's actually gone. And I want to look down the hall. Is there anything? Is it just dark down the hall?
It's just dark.
All right.
Padded walls, old rooms with cells inside. Some of them have chairs. Some of them have the leather straps on the chairs. This is an old style psych ward.
Oh, you got to walk in for a second. I got to go. She's telling me leather straps are on the chairs. I got to go check it out. So first I want to check what time it is on the phone.
It's just after 5 o'clock in the morning.
It's the hour of the wolf, baby. It's when the wall between The living and the dead is at its thinnest. Let's go check out one of these rooms with the straps. Check out the straps, man. It's just too fascinating.
What is he interested in with the straps?
Well, it's just, what are they doing here? Were they performing? He's thinking to himself, is this where they did the, is this the cuckoo's nest stuff where they lobotomized people and put the things on their temples? It's just kind of like that Metallica video. He's just thinking about all the crazy shit that clearly went on in these rooms, and that he should probably leave at some point.
Yeah, it seems cool at first. The straps and the chairs and maybe some stains that aren't really quite explainable. And it's dark and you hear noises throughout the hall. But the more you poke and the more you prod, you don't find shock therapy room, at least not in this first hallway. You get to a point in the hallway as you're checking out these chairs in these rooms looking for something like a torture device or maybe like some bones or something that says this is a story, this is there's something really bad that happened here. And you keep looking and you get to a point in the hall where you look back and you're at this four-way intersection. It's like the third four-way intersection that you've gotten to. And for a second, you feel disorientated. You're not sure, like, wait a second, did I just come from that hallway or did I come from that hallway? And you feel in that moment lost. And you look down at your phone, and where is it? 21% now. The light of the flashlight's gotten dimmer because it's kicked down into backup power mode, and you've got 5% left on your phone.
Okay. This has been fun. This has been a good time. It's time to go. And there's no red exit signs, right? It's not the, is there, it's entirely dark without the phone?
It's entirely dark without the phone. If you lose the phone, it would be entirely dark here.
All right. I'm going to fold the phone. Put it in my pocket. Okay. We're going to say he's got a burner Motorola. We're going to have to check the dates on that, but that's what I'm going with right now. Okay. He had to buy it himself. His parents wouldn't give him a phone. And so he remembers that, if you hold your hand along the right side, he remembers reading in some old, comic book or Dungeon magazine or something, if you put your hand on the right wall, you will eventually make it out of the maze, right? So putting his hand on the right wall and trying to remember as best he can which way he came and turn around, obviously, and start making his way out with 5% battery in his pocket. And he's not freaking out. These things happen. What could go wrong? Takes his shades off, obviously, because it's dark. But that's how he attempts to make it out of there.
Okay.
Mostly keeping his cool.
You mostly keep your cool as you follow along in the dark along the right side of the wall, moving from wall to wall to wall, always turning right. It's got to work. It's got to work. And you get to, and these halls have been cleared out of extraneous materials for the most part. Some of them are padded, some of them are solid, but there's not a lot here in your way. And as you go around and around and around in a circle, you get to a wall, you turn right, you go a few more hands, and you realize that this must be a very thin room. And you turn right again. And then you turn right again. And for a second, as you're putting your hands around, it feels like you're in a box. Like there are no halls, just four walls surrounding you on all sides.
Do I know Gigi's cell phone number?
Probably, right? You'd probably have it saved.
Yeah, I'm gonna call her.
You're down to 3% power on your phone right now. roll me cool. And this is a desperate situation, so you'll need a 5 or higher, and you'll subtract 1 because of time.
3.
3. You take your phone out of your pocket to call Gigi. You go to start pressing the button. You call her. It starts to ring, but as you put it up to your ear, your phone slips out of your hand and hits the ground. And you can't bend down because all around you, it feels like these 4 walls are closing in. It's like shoulder to shoulder at this point. And as you try to bend your knees get stuck on the wall in front of you. And like as you try to reach down for the phone to pick it up, you can't get to it. It's just out of your reach. But the phone rings. Does Gigi answer?
So I think the reason Gigi asked Mr. Goodacre if she could make a call is that he currently has her phone because she was in trouble for something, or, you know, for some reason she broke curfew and it was like, okay, you can't do laundry because the machine's broken, we're going to take your phone. So that's why she was asking if she could call her dad, because she doesn't have her phone.
So do you know where her phone is?
You could establish that truth if you would like to, or
sure.
Maybe it's in an office or on Mr. Toothaker. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to say actually somehow, I want to say that Staley, somehow it ended up with Staley. Like she picked it up when she was confused or like
when we were in the
freaking out
office,
earlier.
maybe.
Right. When she pocketed it without even thinking about it. So Staley, this is 5 o'clock in the morning, a little bit after, and you've barricaded yourself into your room. You're alone. You have a single room, nobody else. Not aware if anybody else is awake. Do you think by 5 o'clock in the morning, Staley would have made it to sleep?
I feel like she probably would have drifted off a little before then, around like maybe 4:30. So she's not in like a deep sleep, but she's just like graciously getting there.
So it's at that point, like when you feel your thoughts, your story of your day that you're thinking about when you lay in bed at the end of the night, and it starts to become nonsensical, right? Your last few thoughts of the night are starting to become random and jumbled. And it's in that moment right before you drift to sleep, right as your jumbled thoughts kind of linger on McGinty and what you saw, that, and it's very loud to you because of your position, the phone rings in the room, and it's not your phone.
She'll probably like jolt awake and be like, oh, and then realize that she's by the door with the other bed and like still in her clothes, didn't change, like kind of having this like come back to reality beyond just waking up. And then like probably stumble around and find her jacket where like probably that she took off and like put right next to the bed, and it's in the pocket of the jacket. So she kind of like stumbles and like grabs it really quickly and like looks at it and just probably immediately answers it without thinking.
How do you answer the phone? Because I think it's on speaker for Merrill.
I probably would hold it close to my ear, not knowing, and go, hello? Who
All right.
is this?
And I hear it on the floor. And again, you know, I'm standing, this thing's on the floor, and the walls are closing in. And you know that noise you make, or at least that I make when you drop something and you go, ah! And it starts off that way, but then you just hear a man, a 17-year-old, you know, starting to full-on scream bloody murder. Ah! Ah! Gigi, I'm in the psych ward at the hospital. I got lost. And I'm stuck in the walls. You gotta call somebody.
Jay's asleep.
But wait, Merrill? And it's like super loud, so I'm like holding it up here now. But Merrill? It's not Gigi.
You gotta get to the hospital. I'm stuck in a wall.
You're stuck in a wall?
I'm in the psych ward with the straps, and I can't breathe. You gotta send somebody.
Staley hangs up the phone. And she sets the phone back down. And she just like sits in bed and like maybe props up like fetal position, but sitting. Just like staring at the phone.
Does Staley believe Merrill?
No.
What does she think? I want to know what's she thinking about after she hangs up?
She's upset at him. She's mad at him. Like, for lack of a better term, for the moment between them, like she's dead to him. She doesn't trust him. She doesn't want to help him. She wants nothing to do with him because she has no idea what's going on and she thinks it's all his fault. So she just thinks this is like some dumb prank to try and lift spirits in some very morbid and not funny way.
Merrill, you're screaming down on the phone and straining, feeling entirely trapped between these four walls. You can't really make out the walls, but there's something spread up them, like sprayed up them. And you can only tell because the little bit of your phone's light from when it's on speakerphone is just enough to see something staining the walls. And then Staley hangs up the phone and the light goes out.
All right, just screams himself hoarse.
What's your total cool? What's your cool rank?
It's a big 1 there, Don.
Mm-hmm.
Uno.
Is he doing anything besides screaming?
I mean, he doesn't have anything to prop the walls up with. He's dropped his phone. You got a Swiss Army knife, effectively, that you could scratch at the. I could scratch at the walls with, I guess, but if it's really such a tight squeeze and he doesn't feel room to move, he just locks his. You lift your knees up and try to brace the walls with your thighs and your ass, and let your feet dangle, pick yourself up off the wall, and then lock your shoulders. And then it's the trash compactor, on the Death Star. There, you gotta do whatever you can to try to brace it. And so that's what he uses: his arms and his legs.
And the more you try to brace it, it feels like the tighter it gets here. And as you scream until your voice is ripped, you're barely able to whisper. The phone at your feet, the light comes back on for a moment, and you can see it read 1%, and then you hear the da-da-da-da-da as the phone powers down and turns off, and you're back in the dark again. That's where we're going to leave Merrill for right now. Let's start a new day. Tommy, I want to know how Jay wakes up in the hospital the next morning. How's he feeling? What's the situation? What he remembers, all of that.
Jay remembers being shot. It doesn't take him like I think he's perhaps a little confused when he wakes up. Like, he doesn't immediately remember things. He's like, obviously, lost some blood, had surgery, got put under, so a little disoriented when he wakes up. And then it sort of slowly comes back to him. He remembers being shot. He remembers Merrill owing him because it was Merrill who shot him. But I think the details on why Merrill shot him, sort of the exact detail. He remembers the intruder. He remembers that there was an intruder, but like I don't think he quite. I think he doesn't. He doesn't. Everything, the fantastical parts of it, the parts where the intruder didn't have, was floating in the air. The fact that the intruder just straight up disappeared. I think that Jay probably thinks that that's part of some sort of fever dream he had while losing blood, right? Like, he's still got this weird feeling, a feeling that is probably left over from the night before that he can't quite explain at this moment. But for all intents and purposes, I think he is just convinced that through blood loss and everything, that the weird paranormal stuff that he saw was his imagination. That it was just an intruder.
The flicker of the lights means that another hour of the clock has passed by. We subtract now 2 D6s from our dice pool whenever we roll. Let's bring into this everybody except for Merrill at the moment, at least. I just want to talk about what the next couple of days are like. And I want to move past the next, I want to move forward a little bit of time. Here are some things that are true based on our story that we've told so far, based on the choices you've made, based on sacrifices you've made. It's a tough few days for Seawall Orphanage. The police find Miss Toothacre in the church, murdered, much in the way that Jacob and Staley proclaimed. But they also find Mr. McGinty in the hospital, to which he was admitted to the afternoon prior to the murder for the flu. He's not burned. In fact, his flu symptoms are so bad that he's sort of in and out of consciousness. Just a few rooms down from Jay, where Jay is undergoing physical therapy. He has a small fracture. He's going to be okay in a couple of days. Mr. Toothacre, in the days that precede, he doesn't take it well. He was out drinking at the pub the night that Miss Toothacre, his sister, went into the woods. He wasn't there to help the children. And she is dead. He's been making arrangements for the funeral because there's nobody else. But you've seen him just walking around the house with his paperwork, wearing the same clothes he's worn since that night, drinking, a lot of drinking. And he's been very distant. Not unkind, but distant. The funeral will be soon, in a few days. We're not going to go that far ahead. But Merrill has gone missing. Nobody has seen him since that night. I want to say it's 3 days after, three mornings after, and I want to talk about just one truth for Gigi, Staley, Jacob, and Jay about something about those 4 days. We'll come back to Merrill. But in the meantime, Gigi, what is true, or what do you want to say about what Gigi's been like dealing with this process over a few days, everything that's happened.
So Gigi has known Miss Toothaker since she was 8 or 9, maybe even before then, maybe 7 or 8. And I think she does what she can to help keep the house running. She kind of slowly over the next couple of days is adopting like a more authoritative role in the house, whether the other people like it or not, because there's no one else here doing that. So she makes sure that family dinner's cooked. And on the days when she can't cook it because she's got a shift, she will order takeaway for the house, and she'll go into that stash that she's got hidden in her room of money, and with a really heavy heart, like start pulling funds from that to pay for stuff so that the house kind of keeps running. Because I think she's afraid if the house stops running, everything is going to go wrong. And everything is already going wrong, but as long as the house keeps functioning, maybe it will all start going right again. So I think she's been busy, and that's just her entire attitude is busy. She's got her schoolwork to still do, ready for the term coming up. She's got, work shifts to take, and she's there like doing laundry at 3 a.m. to make sure everything's ready for the next day for people. And she's just like busy. She seems to be all over the place.
All right.
But I think the truth I'd like to introduce, Don, is as Gigi is this hive of activity, the cat will not stop following her around the house. Wherever she is, Cullen is.
This is the cat that was given to her by Mr. Toothaker for her birthday. And I'll add to that too. Not only does the cat follow you around constantly, it gets into rooms that were closed and locked. It just seems to always find a way in. You're not sure if it's getting in, like, is it getting in through the ceiling? There are those sort of push-up ceilings in some of the rooms. I can't remember, maybe they're called stucco, I'm not sure. But it doesn't just follow you around, it appears in places that are surprising. I want to go to Jacob. Jacob, what have these few days been like for you? And then what is one truth that you would like to add to this montage?
Jacob is a mess. Jacob doesn't come down for 2 days. Jacob almost like he physically is incapable of leaving the attic. In 24 hours, he was vomited. He had blood vomited on him. He was chased by a man on fire with an axe. Someone he knows was shot by someone else he knows who is in his room potentially. He probably doesn't even necessarily know Merrill is missing for the first 2 days. He drinks, and then he has like this ridiculous hangover. But on the last day, he waits until it gets dark, and he is he is a wreck. He has a splitting headache. He still feels drunk, but like it's long since past his system. It's just the surrealness of all of it. But he is gonna go down, and he will go to his room. He won't really notice that Merrill is gone, and Jacob has a guitar, which he can't really play. It's one of the only things his dad ever bought him, and it's a nice guitar. It's like a Stratocaster or something, or a Telecaster. And he goes and he takes it out of like the soft case, folds the soft case up, and goes for a walk. And he actually heads towards the woods, towards the church. But he doesn't go into the woods. He actually goes like probably about like 9-10 o'clock at night. He goes to his dad's house, knowing he won't be home. He makes sure. And then, very no finesse to it whatsoever, he takes a rock, smashes one of the windows, climbs into the house, will go to his room, and Jacob goes and gets his dad's shotgun, puts it in his guitar case, and starts heading back to the orphanage. And like, there's nothing emotional about any of it. It's just like a slow, tedious thing that he has to do. He's just completely like can't focus properly on anything else. He just knows that someone he knows has died, and he's seen so much horrific shit in the last 3 days. He needs a way to look after himself and his friends. So that is what that's my truth, is that he goes and knowing that like it will be noted, probably, he will hide it in the attic as opposed to in his room, because in case like Merrill's rooms get searched or anything like that, I'm gonna hide it in the attic, and I don't tell anyone.
Yeah, I like that. I like that imagery a lot of how he'd be processing the shock and everything he's experiencing just through action, but not through emotion. And the truth I want to add to this is that as you go to your father's house when he's not there, you do kind of have to pass by the church, right, to get to it. Just not too close, but just enough that you can see it. And as you're coming back, the little porch light hangs out front by the door of the church is on. You can see that there's police tape wrapped around the door. There's a little perimeter set up around the church still because it's an ongoing investigation. They don't know who did the murder. What you said didn't add up. So it's still an ongoing investigation into the murder. But you see sitting there on the stoop of the front stairs, the priest, Father Silas Hawkins. He's kind of moves between towns, different islands. He works at many different small churches. And he's the one who, when he's on this island, he'll hold services. And he's just sitting on the stoop, hands folded, not praying, just folded and looking down in thought. And as you spot him there on your way back to the orphanage, he looks up in your direction, and you're not sure if he saw you or not, but he looks right at you in the dark.
Is he alone?
He's alone. He's just sitting there in his, in his frock.
With the guitar case over my back, which, like, it's a soft case, so it's quite clearly got something in it, but, like, anyone with a little bit of savvy could probably figure out that it's not being used for its intended purpose. But like, I have it over my shoulder, and I will actually just walk over towards him again, just very, very calm. He hasn't managed to process this at all, and the drinking has actually made it worse. With like now he's struggling to remember things clearly, but he will walk over and up to the man and say, Miss Toothaker died in there.
When he sees you approach, he stands up and he, kind of brushes himself off and he straightens his shoulders. He tries to look okay, but the closer you get to him in the light, the more you can tell that it doesn't look like he's slept much recently either. He looks exhausted, but he manages a small smile and he says, "You shouldn't be here, Jacob. You should go home."
You should run away.
I have too many people to take care of here.
He ate her heart.
Excuse me, my child?
You should leave. God doesn't live here anymore.
Roll me cool. Subtracting 2 for the time. What's one truth about the outcome of this?
I don't know what it is. I don't know the truth. But something I've said gives him pause. Maybe he saw something. Maybe he heard something. Maybe it could be anything from obscure, like scripture, something in the town's history. Maybe it's just something he found when he was cleaning up that was missed by someone. But he pauses for a moment.
He does. And after the moment, he leans in a little bit closer and he goes to put an arm to your shoulder. And he speaks a little quieter, almost a whisper. You need to get some rest. I'm having a meeting in town. I'll be there for the funeral. Perhaps, maybe after the funeral, you and I can sit down and talk. But you have to sleep. You can't. You don't look great. Are you eating? Is Mr. Toothacher taking care of you?
I hope you are okay.
Why don't I walk you back to the home? It's dark out.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he does. He will walk you home, Jacob. He'll take you back to the orphanage. He'll have probably, I want to say it's a heated conversation with Mr. Toothacher. When he goes inside, I think at the time Mr. Toothacher is like, it's late, it's in the evening, it's nighttime, right? And Mr. Toothacher is like in that plastic room, the room you're not supposed to sit in, with all the furniture that's wrapped. And he's like torn some of the plastic off the furniture. He's sitting on one of the couches, which is not supposed to be sat on. He's got like an empty bottle down below him, some food that he's like microwaved for himself that he's just set down beside him, and he just looks a wreck. And you can hear, I think everybody in the house would hear this pretty stern argument, at least through the walls, between the father from the church and Mr. Toothacher.
What does he argue with him about?
If you're listening in, you would be able to know that this is an argument specifically about him taking care of the children who are legally under his responsibility, that they don't have anyone else that can take care of them. He is the only person, and he needs to get his shit together. And that's really the conversation.
Really weirdly, it's probably the first time that Jacob actually like emotes in any way. He will barge into the room, grab what's the priest's name? It's Father
Silas.
I will grab Father Silas and very angrily say to him, you are not father here, he is. Fuck off. And I will shove him out of the room. Like, and it's like the first time like he's had anything at all, but like there's just like that, almost like a pack mentality with him, that like you don't get to come into this house where this happened. No.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, and he, he looks shocked for a moment, and he almost says something to you, but he can see it on your face. And so Father Silas just simply says before he leaves, I think he probably passes. I want to imagine that the other children have at least come down and like gotten close to this scene. so they can hear what's going on. So he would probably look to Gigi and Staley if they're there, or Ren if she's there, and simply say, you have my number. If you need anything at all, food, someone to take care of you or to give you a ride, call me. And puts on his hat.
And after the commotion, Jacob will just walk through everyone and go back upstairs. Still with the guitar case.
So, before we return to the hospital, I want to know one more truth, one more thing from Staley. I want to know one more thing from Gigi. And from the two of you, I also want to know if either of you visit the hospital at any point.
Staley doesn't visit the hospital. I think for the first day or so after everything happened, she's holed up in her room, still on her bed. If nobody's trying to get in, the beds haven't moved, so they're still propped up against the door, like very much like in her own place, like trying to create her own safe space, like pretending that everything is supposed to be okay and back to normal, even though it's not. So like she's like got her books on her bed, and she's got like a little sketch pad and like her notebook to like write. And there's like a sloppily started letter to Jacob that it just says like, "Dear Jacob," and there's like nothing following it because she just doesn't know what to say, and she's just kind of in this like dissociative gray haze for like the first day or two. And then when everything happens with Jacob and the outburst with Father Silas, and he walks past and goes up to his room, I think that she that evening would try to go back and like finish this note that she's tried to start writing. And then as she does that, realize that she still has the one that she wrote for Gigi for her birthday in her pocket, and goes into like her jacket pocket to get it, and it's all wet and like deteriorated, and opens it and flattens it out on her bed next to the other one, and just like stares at them for a long time. I think she's having a very hard time of processing what is supposed to be happening, let alone like to herself, let alone what is also happening within the midst of the house. I think she's taking it one step at a time and doesn't even really realize everything else that's going on in the house. The fact that like somebody did get shot, and Mrs. Toothaker is now dead, and Mr. Toothaker is falling apart, and everyone's kind of falling apart. She like refuses to see those things until she feels normal again. And she's trying her best to feel normal.
I love that. What about Gigi? What else would you like to add about Gigi?
I think that for the last few days, Gigi has been afraid to sleep, because every time she's fallen asleep, that smiling face and the liver spot hands kind of are there, or she's afraid they're going to be there. And then that has caused her, every time she sees Mr. Toothaker, to almost avoid him, to find something else to be busy with. But I think today, as Jacob throws out the father, she is going to try to put on some music in the kitchen that reminds her of Miss Toothaker, to try and bring some peace to the house. To try and bring her back to the house for Mr. Toothaker. And she was too afraid to kind of agree with what Jacob said, but I think as the father passed, she would have kind of given him his coat as her contribution to throwing him out. Because much like Jacob, this is their house. This isn't his house. And you don't get to come in here and upset anyone in this house. So I think she goes into the kitchen, and she's got like her MP3 player, and she's hardly like trying to find an appropriate song. And she settles on one. Maybe it's like Miss Toothaker like croony songs, right? So maybe
She
it's like
listened to opera.
Mhm.
She listened to like old 1960s, 1950s music as well.
So maybe it's like Billie Holiday singing "Summertime" or like something of that ilk. She doesn't have any opera, and Jay's not here. So she starts, like, from this day forward, trying to fill the house with song to try and fill that gap of absence.
And I think, even though she wouldn't know it, the first song that she plays from that playlist, or the first one that she picks, just happens to be the same song that Jacob and Staley heard from inside the church on the record that night, and kicks up an old croony voice singing about a lost love.
I think Gigi would visit Jay as like part of taking care of everyone. That includes Jay, and she doesn't know where Merrill is, and she knows that Merrill went with Jay to the hospital. So she kind of goes to see Jay, and she takes like some of his favorite snacks in like a canvas bag to give him in the hospital to see how he is and see if he wants anything else from the house. So she would go and see him.
All right. Would anybody? So now we'll go back to Jay here, and we'll go to the hospital. Would anybody else go to the hospital with Gigi? All right. Jay, it's been a few days. Give me one truth, and let me know what those few days have been like for Jay.
Jay has one truth.
You can do either
The
way.
amount of
Either way.
Okay. I think the amount of patients with the flu has gone up, and more people have been admitted to the hospital since Jay has come in here. And so there's a bit of an air of, I imagine that there are people who work here who have been here the last time that the sort of major sort of like flu outbreak happened. So there's sort of a sense of like, you've got a few people who are the way you prepare for a big storm when you've lived through storms in your life, where you do what you can. There's sort of a resignation that, this will happen and you just got to push through it for some of them. But obviously there's probably a few new faces or a few like people who have grown up here and have come to work here that are maybe not necessarily panicked, but worried. Jay is, being shot isn't ideal. Being in the hospital is not ideal, especially since, it prevents him from doing some stuff that he would like to do. He can't work, obviously. So that's not fun. He's probably not going to be able to do his part-time job at the museum for a while. So that's, but I think that he is not necessarily happy, but in a content mood, because he, like I said, like Merrill owing him a big favor is just making his day. Like, he thinks that this might be the solution to his problems once he leaves this island.
I love that. I want to say too that. Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think you've had many visitors. Merrill came with you, but you haven't seen him since. I don't think Jay knows about Miss Toothaker yet. Mr. Toothaker came to visit at one point. He looked like a mess, and you were still kind of doozy from anesthesia the night before. And he didn't say anything. He just sat with you. He cried a little bit, and then he left. It doesn't sound like anybody else has visited Jay for several days. And your experience is also that they have to bring in a trainer to help make sure that you're walking okay. There's no extensive damage. It's a several day process. And during that time, the trainer works you so hard. Like they have to. That's how it works when you have that kind of injury. They have to make sure that you're okay, that you can sustain a normal life. And in doing so, you're in a lot of pain. They're moving you and doing exercises on this leg, even as it's healing. They give you a set of crutches that you can use. You have a wheelchair in your room that you can make use of. You can walk, but it's probably, even with only a minor fracture and a pretty clean gun wound, it's going to be weeks before you really can move like you did before. And I need you to make me a desperate grit check. I want to know, this is basically your recovery. You do have I can
give into a vice, grit,
and it's not a vice. So we actually we changed this a little bit.
Right.
So now, so now the way it works that if you've been given the spotlight by another player, and you've done your flashback or your memory or your thoughts, which you did earlier, you can use those thoughts to give yourself temporarily a rank 5 in your highlighted stat. Is it grit for Jay?
It is grit for Jay.
Okay.
I left it as grit.
So if you want to use that, just kind of explain how, and I think it was that butterfly memory, right?
Yeah. I think that Jay is a very fastidious, industrious, sort of meticulous kind of person, and he's got plans in life. He wants, like, beyond just getting out of here, right? Like, his immediate goal is get off this island, but he wants to never feel like he has to depend on another person ever again in his life, and that that's his ultimate goal. And his path to that is get off this island, get into a university, and essentially after that it's make money, get power, right? Like that sort of hard. And so he is a very driven, and when he puts his mind to something, he is very, very driven. And I think there's a little motivation that I don't think had ever been there before, in that he thinks to himself, I will not be the butterfly caught in the jar. I will not slowly suffocate here on this island and die like so many people do. I will get out, and I will fly again, essentially, like that one damn persistent butterfly that he kept seeing that day. And so that's his sort of mentality right now. There's a bit of fear of death that's been added to that, though. Just a little.
I think that's fair.
And then I'm -2.
That's right. So you'll roll 3d6, and you just need a 5.
Come on, Jay. Yes, it's 5.
You get to introduce one truth. Doesn't have to be about your recovery. It could be about anything. And we'll say this is at the end of your personal training time. You're set to be released in the morning, the following morning.
Okay. One truth. I'm trying to, because I don't know, and I'm unsure of how you're going to resolve the thing with Merrill. Because like I want to bring
I
back
don't-
Merrill into this somehow.
So this is the thing about the
Yeah.
game too, is that I don't have plans. I don't know
Okay.
what I'm going to do with Merrill yet. You can absolutely, with your truth,
Okay.
have it have something to do with Merrill.
Okay. I think Merrill finally does reappear on that last day after having been missing. There's
Any specific thing about it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to decide is how what's worse, that Merrill remembers or doesn't remember where he's been the last I kind of I mean, I don't think he remembers where he's been. I don't think he realizes he's been gone for 3 days.
That
And I
time
kind of want to, that time, like, he doesn't remember the time. He just, like, comes out of the old hospital wing. You know, chipper as Merrill sometimes is. That sort of show chipper. But I kind of want to leave sort of what's happened and maybe something that's perhaps changed about Merrill. He's got the leather eye patch on, yes. But I kind of want to leave that up to you and Travis.
So, and here's what we'll do. We'll say this is the start of the new scene, and here's what I imagine. Based on what you've said, you're in your room, awake. You know, you get to leave the next day. Gigi's arrived. Gigi, you're coming with flowers. Were you coming with something specific?
She was gonna bring some of Jay's favorite snacks, which, knowing the kind of kid Jay is, are probably some sort of premium, like, breakfast bar, right? It's like the oatmeal kind with like the filling or something like that. It's like the nice kind. She went to Grocer's and she used some of her gross bucks and got some of Jay's favorite cereal bars, or, you know, that kind of a snack thing, something that he won't be getting in hospital that she knows he likes.
Premium trail mix.
Premium.
Okay, yeah, it's a real big
Which is
fucking
expensive.
bag.
I don't know if y'all have
like,
ever seen the trail
It's the
mix.
monster premium trail mix with like the peanut M&Ms are in there, the Reese's Pieces, all the good nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So here's how I imagine this is sort of like a montage scene where like we see the shot of you having just finished your personal training for the day, your exercise for the day, probably sweating, right? Jay, on your bed. We see Gigi trying to put herself together. She's away from the house, which has been a very difficult place to be, Gigi. You come through the hospital, and over the past few days, more people have been coming down with the flu. The hospital is very busy. Jay's kept in the back of the hospital, and they admit you because Merrill basically made them, allow for that initially, so they're going to allow you through too. But there's not a lot of doctors active moving about or nurses active in the back of the hospital. They're very, very focused up front, where they're dealing with very, like, every 13 to 15 years, they're saying this is the start. And you can see people with masks on whose loved ones are being checked up for the flu, and they're trying not to get it, who are in the waiting room as you pass through with your trail mix. You can hear just the ambient sounds of coughing all around you, right? Some of it in other rooms, some of it in the same room as you, and you're passing through and they're leading you through. They actually hand you a mask and tell you if you want to put this on, you can.
I think as she came in, she kind of had like pulled her t-shirt up over her face, seeing all the like coughing and stuff that was going on. And then if she's given a mask, she'd take the mask and put it on because she doesn't want to get sick. And I imagine, I don't think they're at the point where they've got the alcohol pushes on the wall yet, because that's pretty recent they've started doing that. But I imagine if she passes like one of the squeeze pumps, she's like hammering the thing onto her hands.
Oh yeah. They have hand sanitizer stations all over the place, and you have to actually put on gloves before you go back. They give you a pair of throwaway gloves so that you don't have to touch the door handles. But that's the sort of like, we have the shot with Jay, tired, sweating on his bed. We have the shot with Gigi making her way through this kind of chaos in the front of the hospital and getting to the quieter places in the back. And then we have Merrill. Merrill, you hear and the doors open to the psych ward, the ones that you picked and unlocked. And you're standing there in front of the psych ward looking in. You can see that red mist drift out, roll along about ankle height. And as you look down at that mist and that wind blows the door of the ward open, you have your phone in your hand. I want you to introduce one truth here, and then I'll get to introduce one truth. This can have something to do with Merrill's past 3 days, or it could have something to do with somebody else.
Well, let's consider this here. So, Merrill does not know that 3 days have passed.
Yeah, time is different. Now, that's not to say that like no time has passed. It can be
right.
It can be what you want it to be.
Well, no, I love that time has passed and Merrill does not know that has happened, and that he emerges from these double doors thinking that he fell asleep somewhere like in one of the beds back there and just took a nap really quick and had terrible nightmares of drowning and hellfire, specifically red glowing fire and like lava and smoke, and just like alternating in drowning in dark water and seeing very tall flames. And it's a recurring nightmare that he has, and that's the only part of this experience that is familiar to him, as this specific nightmare. And then he emerges from these double doors assuming that, he's just woken up. He has this new eye patch on his face that he knows that he found. I think he remembers everything up to being trapped, and then also I think thinks that was part of the dream, that he had a dream of being stuck in a room and the room getting smaller and suffocating and screaming, but not that was necessarily something that actually happened. And then registering that he has this new thing on his face and seeing this mist at his feet, which dissipates again, would you say? Is there for a while?
It's exactly, I mean, it is deja vu. It's exactly, you're not leaving the psych ward. I mean, you are, but you're facing it. You're on the outside looking in, just like before. The doors open up towards you, just like before. That wind blows out. That fog, that red mist sifts along your ankles and then dissipates just like before. That's not to say that you didn't walk out those doors, but it's a weird deja vu moment.
I gotta get some breakfast. Kind of straightens out his jacket and goes back to Jay's room. And then I think that other than that, the truth is that he runs into Gigi.
Yeah. And I'll say too, I think so too. It does. Probably right outside his room. But the truth I want to add to your truth is, as you're walking away, you still have your phone in your hand, which is dead. It's out of power and needs charged. You've like a weird burn scar on the back of your left hand. Pretty bad. And it actually hurts a little bit. You don't remember getting that.
Man, that's insane that you just said that. Okay, all right, I'm listening. Go ahead. This is fucked up. Keep talking.
And right after you notice that, right outside Jay's room, Gigi comes around the corner on the other side with her little bag of trail mix and everything that she's brought. And Gigi, you see Merrill there. And the lights have gone out, which means that we are now in the final phase of the session. The next failed roll will be the final moment of our session and result in something bad happening. But in the meantime, you see each other.
I'm like looking at my hand, and you ever see somebody talking to themselves and then they look up and see you, you know? So Merrill's like talking to himself, looking at this burn on the back of his hand, and it looks up at you halfway through, saying, "Look at that. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than with two hands to go into hell where the fire never goes out." Oh, hey, Gigi.
Are you okay?
Hungry. I burned my hand. I got kind of a light headache.
Have you been here since whatever day it was that Jay came in? Insert appropriate day
Yeah,
of the
what
week?
day was it?
My birthday? No, it was the day after my birthday. No, it was my birthday. Never
It was
mind.
that night, yeah, like late night.
It was my birthday. Have you been here since my birthday?
Is this, what day is this? My phone's dead, and I'm not wearing my watch.
That was like 3 days ago.
What?
Yeah.
Your birthday was 3 days ago?
Yeah, we didn't know where you went after you were here with Jay.
Elizabeth,
But
that's not funny. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
My name is Gigi, and we didn't see you come back.
I've been gone for 3 days?
Yeah.
Of course I have. Of course I have. Well, I checked myself into a hotel, you know, just because I think it's, I don't know. I just didn't want to be back there for a while. So sure, everybody's fine back at the homestead, right? Did they catch the guy who shot Jay in the leg?
I want to add too, as this conversation's going on, Jay, the door's open, right? And you can actually hear them talking outside your room. You can feel
The
free to
door's like
join.
half pushed open.
That's right. Yeah, it's open just enough. Like you can hear this whole conversation if you want to join in, or you can at least listen.
Jay's gonna listen for a moment. He's like finishing like changing his shirt right now, because you know that's why it's in sweaty clothes. So, he's finishing up with that right now. So he'll listen for a moment.
No, they didn't find the guy, and they didn't find the guy who killed Mom either.
Killed Mom? Your mom? No. Sorry. Wait. You're talking about...
Toothaker.
She's dead?
They killed her at the church. They did something horrible to her, and Staley and Jacob said it was that guy who lives behind the school, but he's been here, and they don't know who did it.
How was she killed? Shot, stabbed, drowned, what? How did they do it?
I don't know. They wouldn't tell us.
All right. And that was that night? That was their birthday?
Uh-huh. When they kicked in the door, they must have just taken her. They must have grabbed her and taken her.
Well, who's doing meals and getting groceries and running it?
I am, and Mr. Toothaker's still at home.
Christ.
I want to zoom in real quick on Jay inside the room. What's Jay doing right now as he's listening to all of this?
Jay pauses when he hears that Miss Toothaker is dead. And about 1,000,000 thoughts go through his head. First and foremost is he's worried about what's going to happen with the orphanage. He needs things to be stable for the next year until he can get out of here. And so he doesn't need the government coming in here thinking, if Mr. Toothaker goes off the deep end and suddenly we have to move and things go weird and Jay's gets behind on his schooling and then his whole plan falls apart. That's one thought that goes through his head very quickly. And second is sort of an immediate, it's not quite disgust, but just, kind of disgust for like the church, because Jay doesn't like the father. He just, he doesn't know why the father didn't seem to like his mother and always seemed to like be trying to pick, not fights, but like fights, but in a priestly manner, right, with his mother. But he was too young to really understand any of that. So he has an innate distrust and dislike of the father, which means he sort of translates that to the church as well. And so there's a small part where he's like, good, maybe they'll shut the church down here. That church, that absolutely horrendous church. And another thought of, I was right. There is something wrong with the father in that church. And so this is all going through his head, just snap, thought, right?
Don, can I suggest that, in this moment, this is the moment where Merrill and Gigi kind of think, oh yeah, Jay's right there, and at least Gigi's attention has kind of panned to the bed and is looking at Jay as all these thoughts are just rocketing.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can still see the sweat on his face, his hair kind of sticking up and a little bit out of whack, as though it looks like he's been exercising or is very sick, maybe a little bit of both. The two of you step in, and the three of you are together. Gigi, go ahead and introduce a truth about this scene for me.
I think that we have less time to discuss what we need to discuss than we think, because something is happening out in the hospital.
Absolutely. What's this greeting like? And then I'll introduce a truth as well.
So I think Gigi pushes into the room and kind of just drops this, 3 kilogram, I don't know what that is in pounds, 6 pound bag of trail mix onto the bottom of Jay's bed, kind of avoiding the lumps that would be his legs. And just looks really apologetic because she knows that he heard everything that was just said.
Did I hear you right? Did you say that Miss Toothaker is dead?
Yep. She was dead. Guess that's what caused it all. Crazy. And Merrill crosses the room and, showing no consideration for your special gift whatsoever, rips open the bag of trail mix and just completely helps himself.
Jay,
looks like they were able to save the leg.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It was a clean wound. But Jay sort of holds in that, he pauses for a moment before saying that. And then there's a slight grit to his teeth, because A, that is his gift, and B, you are not eating the trail mix correctly. You eat all the items of a single particular item from worst to best as you eat through it. And he's just gritting his teeth, but He's playing the game with Merrill right now, and so he grits through it.
Eat them like peanuts at the ball game, where you make a little fist out of them and go.
That is worse than the fact that you are just helping yourself to his gift. Like, that is just doing worse for.
Kind of shaking them in his hand like dice, the way you got old guys eat peanuts.
Jay.
Merrill!
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's okay.
These are good. Did you get these? These were gross. These are the expensive ones. This is the organic stuff. These are good. They've got the flax in it.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Jay got shot and you check into a motel, hotel, whatever, and you've promised to take Ren to the fucking movies? And you're doing what?
How do you
now?
know? Whoa, hold up. How do you know I told Ren she was going to the movies?
In that moment, I introduce another truth. Merrill, you recognize a sound. It's this familiar sound to you. It's a whipping through the hall outside. It actually pushes that half open door all the way open. And as that breeze goes down this wing of the hall, the lights go out overhead one at a time along with it, very smoothly. You can see the lights getting smaller in the distance, but they're already out in your room. And then they disappear. There's a scream somewhere else in the hospital towards the front. And the three of you are entirely in the dark.
This hospital is so very poorly run.
Someone probably hit the pothole on Main Street again.
Which they will never fix, ever.
I was going to say, you would think that they would fix it at the same time.
No. Right. We both say the same, like, well, you would think, but no. How do you think they scam the Department of Transportation? You just keep filling up the same hole, and then they knock one bump down, and another one shows up 2 blocks down the road. Look, when do they discharge you? How much longer you got in here?
I don't think much longer. I think it's either going to be later today or tomorrow morning.
Well, I mean, can you walk on it?
I can use crutches fine. I don't know if they'll let me take the wheel. I probably don't need the wheelchair. I think the crutches will do me just fine. It'll be a few weeks before I can properly walk.
You're all speaking in the dark right now, and you can hear some commotion elsewhere in the hospital, the more populated area, as you're kind of bantering back and forth and talking about, can you leave now? Do you have to leave tomorrow? You hear from the room across the hall in your section that bleep, bleep, bleep of that sort of flatlining sound. It holds. It's loud.
Did someone just die?
There goes another one.
Oh. No, if the power's out.
You hear the door open across the hall, swinging slowly.
Gigi's gonna push towards Jay's room door. Is it one of the hostel style doors that has the window in it? Or is it one she's gotta open to look out?
It is, yeah.
So she's gonna go straight to it and not quite smushing her face against the glass, but close enough, I think, that it's like masked to the glass. And she's like,
you close the door right now? The wind blew it open.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's open. Okay, then no, she's just gonna look out, like peer around the door, see what's going on out there.
You kind of have to stumble around. You're gathering. There's no window here to the outside. There's no window in the hall.
She'll just like grope between bed and wall to like try and see.
Roll me an empathy check here.
Okay.
And we'll call this a desperate check.
Okay, so I have 2 in empathy total ever. At -2, do I just fail instantly or do I roll 1?
No, you always roll 1. Never less than 1.
I'm gonna roll on a real die because I currently can't open Fantasy Grounds. Because
Okay.
I got too much open on my computer. But I promise I
understand.
won't lie. That was a 3. That was not a 6.
So, Gigi, you stumble towards the door. You get to the door just to kind of peer out and see what you see. And that door, you can't see it, but you can hear it across the hall that you heard creak open. From within, you can hear that that flatlining sound, and then the flatlining sound stops. The door slams closed. You can hear it echoing in your ears down the hall. Right in front of you, you can feel the whoosh against your hair and your face. You don't see anything. And then the lights come back on, and standing in front of you is in a hospital nightgown, shaking, crying, hands up to your face, mouth covered in blood, cheek covered in blood, Mr. McGinty. He reaches his hands for your face. But that's where we'll end our story for tonight.
All right, before we do our outros tonight, I'm going to let the cast have a real quick moment, and we're going to go and hear from Past Charlie about our sponsors of the show. But please stay tuned, because debrief is going to be super fun when we get back after this little brief message. Before we begin today's show, I would like to take some time to remind you about our sponsors. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All of the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are done using Fantasy Grounds, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all of your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of D&D, Warhammer and 40k minis for up to 20% off regular retail price. And Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. Go and check them out at tabletoploot.com.
Yay.
Oof.
Welcome back, everyone. So thank you for hanging out and for playing with us tonight. It was a fun session as always. And we got to play with some truths and some things in ways that we haven't done before. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Tommy's choice to bring Merrill back. I think we can, that's something that I think this system will let us explore a lot more of that going forward. I do want to go around in a circle and have everybody introduce themselves. If you're up to anything upcoming, let us know what's going on, anything you want to share. And I just want to say thank you to everybody in chat hanging out, everybody on YouTube who's watching. If you watch this and you have any thoughts about the game system, or if you check out the World Anvil, which will be linked in the YouTube and it's up in chat right now on Twitch, and you have any thoughts about the system or the setting, send them our ways. We have a Discord, Encounter Roleplay Discord. We have a channel for this show. Let us know what you think. Send it down in comments in YouTube and let us know what you think of the system so we can make it better and keep working on it. But that's all for right now. Let's go around and let's start with Travis. Hey, Travis.
Oh man, this was badass. My favorite parts were Staley on the phone with Merrill screaming. That's the call to C-3PO in the Death Star garbage compactor that did not go well, and she hung up on him. And also, I loved Jay deciding that that he does not remember that there was a ghost phantom assailant in the kitchen, because that closes the door on being able to explain to Staley that that's why. Anyway, I'm very upset about that. It's a good thing Merrill doesn't know that yet. That's going to be a lot of fun here in a session or two when Merrill attempts to gain everybody's trust back. And I also loved the priest and Jacob and Jacob's bender in the attic, and just any character that completely loses their shit and falls apart is all right by me. That's the good stuff. So it's good times. This was amazing. I think that this game is really unique. I love what Donna's doing. Oh, and I loved Gigi in the hospital room, and that we got to remember that she said that I'm taking Ren to the movies because
Yes.
she's not necessarily supposed to know that. So let's make sure we remember that next week. So, and then this is amazing. The game is really unique and super cool. I'm producer Trev. In an hour, I am running Aliens over on Lindy's channel. So check out twitch.tv/LaughLoveLindy. We got guest stars. We got aliens and predators and Blade Runners. Oh my! You won't want to miss it. And I play D&D Mondays in Exandria on Lindy's channel. And I play D&D in Ravenloft on Tuesdays on her channel. And I basically am just moving into her apartment and eating out of her fridge. And just Lindy, obviously I owe her lots of money. So that's just what's going on. So, anyway, this was amazing. I can't wait for next Friday. And thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Let's go around to Tommy. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, oh man. Yeah, that was an episode and a half as always. I had so much fun. I thoroughly, oh man. I mean, I loved Merrill just, going at town with the trail mix there at the end, because that just like that was like such a like just like those moments that rib at Jay, because at this point we're very well aware of that Jay intends to use Merrill for his own sort of goals, and so we're just seeing you just keep poking at the things that annoy and tick off Jay, and I just want to see how long it takes for Jay to kind of snap, to see if he does snap from that. But I had a lot of fun also playing with being like taking other parts of the narrative when it comes to introducing truths and sort of bending them, especially bringing Merrill back. 'Cause I was like, I think it's a good time for Merrill to be back, but it's not going to be normal. He doesn't just get to come back. He has to come back and something's wrong. So I'm really enjoying being able to do that. And I mean, so many great moments. I could keep going forever, but I'm Imperator Pengu on the Twitter sphere. You can find me there. I swear I'll get a schedule up one of these days when work and life stops being crazy. But mostly you only need to know I'm here on Fridays at whatever time daylight time will be next week. You're just following kind of roleplay, that'll tell you. But on Saturdays at 12 noon Eastern, which is 9 a.m. my time. I am over on Salty Sweet Games, right? Salty Sweet Games, yeah. Where we play Call of Cthulhu, Masks of man, I'm gonna learn it one day. As my character, yeah, as my character would say, Nyarlathotep in his southern accent. But that's a lot of fun. I also do some video editing around the tabletop scene, so you'll see some of my stuff out there. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to next week.
Ditto. Let's go ahead and go on to Staley, to Ray. Hi, Ray.
Hey, I'm Ray. I play Staley. My favorite was the chase scene by far. I love the whole her twisting her ankle sort of thing, and Jacob picking her up fireman style and just running, but her still seeing the horror from behind. It reminds me of that video game. I don't remember the name of it at the moment, but the one where you have to run away from the guy who's trying to kill you. And it just I just love that visual, especially him on fire, just swinging the axe around. That was just
by Daylight.
Yes, that is the game. That's exactly what it made me think of the whole time. And when it's raining and it's that spooky etherealness, I loved it. I love every part of it. Spook me until I scream. I love it. But yeah, I am with a brick on the interwebs. You can find me here doing this Fridays, and then on Tuesday evenings, I'm over on the Scraticus Academy running some homebrew Dungeons and Dragons that just started. So come and join us on the adventure, and you're not far behind. Yay.
Yay. Congratulations on that's your first time DMing like a
Yes.
full campaign, right? Awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's very cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go down to Josh. Hi, Josh. How are you, friend?
It has been a day. It has been, oh my god, like best birthday ever. Charlie, invite me to all of your birthdays. I love it. Like, you know, there's crab cake that's actual cake made out of crab. There's, you know, the crazy drunk uncle who gets like too drunk and then vomits blood over you. There's, you know, all the tropes that you love to see. That weird cousin that you don't really associate too much with, but he brings a gun, shoots, you know, your brother. You know, it's great. It's just great stuff. Holy shit! Like, I genuinely think my favorite thing about this is how cathartic it is to just like. I feel like what a lot of fantasy games and a lot of like TTRPGs don't go into enough is like when you see someone die, like that shit stays with you. If you're not used to that kind of life, and you know, a lot of the time we're just like, you know, killed 30 orcs in a room. What kind of loot do we get? What kind of XP do we get? Or like, you know, did we find a big bad? But like, we have seen some shit, and I think my favorite part from the episode was just listening to how everyone processes or doesn't process it more accurately. How this will irrevocably change everyone. So that's been an absolute treasure. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at roleplayers_TV, where I post where I'll be. I have not been doing much the last week because I've been sick, but I'm hopefully starting to get over it now because I've got some things in the pipe work that I really want to get on with, including some potential streams, maybe some space stuff, maybe some cowboy stuff, but I'll go more into that on my Twitter when I can. And you can find me on Wednesdays over on Tales from the Grim, where I play Aris of Gesso, who is much better at handling this sort of shit than I am. He's a witcher, and I've without giving too much away, I have just been placed as like the most wanted person in like 3 kingdoms, which is great. Found that out like right at the closing moments, and I don't know it yet, so I can't wait to find out how my face is on every wanted poster around. But that's me. Yeah, follow me on Twitter if you want. If not, well, meh, you know.
Can
I just say that
before yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just 100% agree with you about lasting psychological consequences for death and mayhem in tabletop RPGs, and I just think you're great, and I totally agree with you, and I love this game. Goodbye.
I was going to say more of the same, too, and it's something we talked about when we did our session 0, is that one of the themes we were going to talk about is how do teenagers, right, process grief or process horror in a believable way. And I said it before, but my favorite thing still is everybody's totally believable, totally different, and super honest and vulnerable and funny depictions of their characters. It's very real, right? And that comes within a game about teenagers, I think is really cool. I like getting to see it from my side, from my angle of everything. So thank you for that. It's awesome. I love seeing it. I saw a lot of that today. We'll talk about what next session's going to be like. You know, we might, you know, do a scene and then move forward a good deal so that we can relieve some of that pressure and then start to tell the next story. But we'll talk about that off screen. I'm going to give it over to Charlie.
And the fact that we will be talking about it off screen and we talk about it on screen is one of the wonderful things for me about this game, because it's 100% collaborative and we all share the power in this story. And I want to say a massive thank you to people who have joined us in the story tonight, including the wonderful Edelyn, who dropped by and gave Don that Bane, and the wonderful Jay Britton, who raided us earlier. I hope you guys were having a great stream over there, and if you stuck by, I hope you enjoyed our story tonight. If you are watching on YouTube, as Don mentioned, please do let us know what you think of the game. We've got likes, there's the bell, there's the follow button or subscribe button. And just thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. And yeah, thank you everyone who played tonight. Sadly, Lydia's power got cut right at the beginning, so we didn't have Lydia with us tonight, but she is fine, and we will be back all together next week on Friday. I will be posting an updated schedule because on Sunday in the US, your clocks are changing on us. And in the UK, the clocks aren't changing until the end of the month, which is going to make for a very confusing time, but a schedule will be posted. I will be over on Discord for probably like the next hour trying to debrief myself on tonight. I had an amazing time. And a massive thank you to Jonathan Fry, who, if you love watching in action, you should check out on Tuesdays on LFM Agency's channel. I think that's what it's called, LFM Network. Done? Yep.
Yeah, it's LFM_network.
There we go. LFM_network, where you are playing the Rise of the Veiled Alliance, which is a killer D&D Dark Sun campaign with an amazing rule set for political and social intrigue that is incredible to see in action. But we will be back in action here on Encounter Roleplay on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's EDT, Eastern Daylight Time. We are shifting an hour next week for the Crown Lands, where we play Game of Thrones in our little Song of Ice and Fire game that I GM. So I am super excited for that. It is now 2:15 in the morning here, so I think it's about time for us to say goodnight. But I wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next week for a full week of Encounter Roleplay goodness. But until then, try not to roll too many net ones, because dark things happen when you do. Good night, everybody.